She's live.
Okay. I'd like to call the February 9th, 2021 Village of Lake Park Council meeting to order. I'd like to welcome those that are joining us via YouTube. Councilman Joe Scaldero will lead us in the invocation.
Heavenly Father, I would like to thank you for allowing us to safely virtually meet today. We ask for your guidance and to provide us with wisdom to help us make the best possible decisions for our village. Please continue to watch over our fellow council members, Jeremy Russell and Jim Record, along with their families as they come to peace with the recent loss of loved ones. We pray for our nation's military members as they work hard to keep our nation and world a safer place. Please continue to watch over our local, state, and federal officials to continue to guide us through this pandemic. So hopefully we can get back to a better way of life soon. In your most blessed name, I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Joe. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no one in the council chambers this evening, but we did receive a request from Mr. Gary Jordan to read a comment into public comment this evening. This is from Gary Jordan. He says, I am concerned about visibility due to shrubbery on the corners of Creft Circle and Conifer Drive approaching Faith Church Road. While at the stop sign, a driver is blind to oncoming traffic. There's also an ongoing problem with traffic not having enough space to turn onto Creft Circle or Conifer from Faith Church Road. I will say that I have spoken to Mr. Joseph Parente, who's over the townhome HOA, and he has spoken to C&D Landscaping and stated that they will try and trim some of those bushes back to provide better visibility on that intersection. Shree sent out the minutes for the January 12th, 2021 regular session. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented? If so, state your name.
Motion to approve, Jim.
Okay, Jim has made the motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second, Bruce.
Bruce has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Pam Jack, yay.
Jim Record, yay.
Joe Scaldero, yay.
Jeremy Russell, yeah.
Bruce Barton, yay.
The motion is carried. You also were given an updated agenda yesterday. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved, Pam Jack.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second, Joe Scaldero.
Joe has seconded. Any discussion or requested changes to the agenda? If not, all those in favor signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Pam Jack, yay.
Jim Record, yay.
Joe Scaldero, yay.
Jeremy Russell, yeah.
Bruce Barton, yay.
The agenda has been approved. In your packet, you received the security report for this evening. Deputy Austin is on duty this evening, but because we're meeting virtually, he is not joining us. If there's any questions about the security report or anything, I'll be happy to take your questions and pass them on to Deputy Austin and get back to you. Any questions or comments?
None.
Okay. Chief Johnny Blythe with the Hemby Bridge Fire Department had sent some information to Cherie, who forwarded that out to council about the proposed satellite fire station on Faith Church Road. Chief Blythe called the office today and was looking for feedback as to had anybody made comments about the appearance of the fire station. The architects have tried to blend the station into the surrounding facilities such as the Children's Lighthouse and the Nursing Center on Faith Church Road. Did anybody have any comments that they wanted us to pass along to Chief Blythe?
I thought the elevations looked real well, Mayor. I was pleased with how it looked.
Looks good.
Yeah, I'm happy with it myself.
I like it.
No. Okay, we'll pass that along to him, and I agree. I think they did a nice job of designing the Hemby Bridge Fire Station. I think everyone is excited about moving forward with this. So, okay, moving on to Park and Recreation. We received a quote from CPM for pool supplies for the coming season. Biggest part of the expenses were additional skimmer baskets. That's almost half of the requested funds for these supplies. We will need a motion to approve $1,143.34 to CPM for pool supplies for the coming season.
Make a motion to approve pool supplies for $1,143.34.
Jim Rickard has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Pam.
Pam has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yea or nay and stating your name.
Pam Jack, yay.
Jim Record, yay.
Joe Scaldera, yay.
Jeremy Russell, yeah.
Bruce Barton, yay.
The motion is carried. Just as a point of information, Lucas has completed the removal of 118 knockout roses and the installation of a variety of new plants in common areas throughout the village. Most of these are around the ponds in the village. Park and Rec also approved the regrading of the Russell Park sidewalk area to provide better drainage to get the water off the sidewalks. There's actually 6 different locations where water continues to stand anytime we get any type of rainfall. So what Lucas will do is provide a gentle swale between the sidewalk and the pond to drain that water off the sidewalk. I don't know if you can tell from this picture, but one of the residents took it upon themselves to put stepping stones so they could get through this area over by the pet waste station. And hopefully once this work is done, we won't need those stepping stones. It'll completely drain away. We have a similar issue over in Founders Park. There's a couple of areas there where there's a huge stretch of the sidewalk. Water continues to stand. I met with Scott Staub from Lucas last Friday over in Founders Park, and he was confident that there was enough slope between the sidewalk and the street that again, they could put in a gentle swale there that would drain this water off. I have polled the members of the Park and Rec Commission, and they all agreed that they would like, normally we would bring this quote to Park and Rec at the end of the month, but everyone has agreed that we should just take it directly to council this evening. Since the amount is over $1,000, we do need council approval to proceed with this project. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the quote from Lucas for $1,035 to regrade the sidewalk areas in Founder's Park.
Motion to approve $1,035 to regrade the sidewalking areas in Founder's Park.
Jim Rickard has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second
Bruce.
it.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who seconded.
Go ahead, Bruce.
I'll second, Bruce.
Okay, Bruce is seconded. Thank you. Any questions or any discussion on this?
Well needed.
Yes, it is. It is.
I've
Much
had to walk
has
through that.
been used. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor signify by stating your name and yea or nay.
Pam Jack, yay.
Jim Record, yay.
Joe Scaldera, yay.
Jeremy Russell, yeah.
Bruce Barton, yay.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Just to recap, Park and Rec did not meet in December, so Angie gave the recap for Toys for Tots and the Angel Tree in the January meeting. So I wanted to pass that along to council. The Lake Park residents filled 3 boxes for Toys for Tots to overflowing. And these were then passed on to Union County Toys for Tots, which collected 16,129 toys. They served 2,100 families and over 4,600 children. So we want to thank the residents of Lake Park for their contributions to Toys for Tots. We also had 25 Angel Tree names, and 20 of those were for children and 5 were adults. And they were quickly picked up by residents, and we were able to provide Christmases for those 20 children and 5 adults. Again, thank you to the community for that. Park and Rec approved a hygiene kit drive for the homeless shelter of Union County, and this will be taking place in March, and there'll be more information coming out on that.
Can you give me more information so I can put it in the newsletter?
For the hygiene kit drive,
Yeah,
Angie's got all that. She can do that. Yeah.
okay.
I think she may even want to put a flyer in there with the types of items that they're looking to collect.
I can put that in.
Touch base with Angie on that.
Okay.
Also, the American Red Cross is going to hold another blood drive in the village. This will be out in front of the community center. This will be on February 21st from 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. There's already been some information put out on Facebook, the village's Facebook page, and been shared to some of the other Facebook pages. But we'll,
Do you need appointments, right?
I know they are taking appointments, and you can schedule appointments, and I'm pretty sure you do need to make your appointment for that. Okay. All right, moving on to the Union County interlocal utility agreement. I'll let Cherie provide you an update on where we stand with that. She'll be right with us.
Just want to, the county's received a lot of feedback from the other municipalities. And so they've taken the agreement back and are looking at some items that need to be addressed before there can be a consensus of the municipalities in the. So right now we're on hold until we see another document.
Okay. So we will just wait till we hear more from the county or from some of the other municipalities on that.
Yeah.
Last month, we briefly discussed the NCDOT Title VI requirements, which would be required by the municipality in order to receive state and federal funds. Our attorney, Ken Swain, has been trying to get some information from NCDOT about this and just received some information today. So I'll turn this over to Ken to provide an update on NCDOT Title VI. Ken?
Thank you, Mayor. So, yeah, for several months now, I've been trying to determine whether or not the village would be subject to the directives being put forth by DOT. Because I had questions about whether or not there was a sufficient qualification for those requirements based on PAL bill funding or CARES Act funding receipts or other types of funding receipts. The lady who has been the contact source for that, apparently, I didn't realize this until today, apparently has been quite sick dealing with COVID, but she's fortunately recovered and she was back at it. She responded to me literally today. And it indicates that you don't have to do this if you're receiving CARES Act funding or funding of that nature, but the PAL bill funding does trigger the requirement. So with that being the case and finally getting that put to bed, I've had an opportunity to kind of dig into, she sent me some materials. She kind of took the ball and ran with it in regards to the preparation of a resolution, an internal village policy, a complaint form related to discriminatory complaints or complaints regarding discrimination, and some instructions for those that would be initiating such a complaint. I went through all of those and well, prior to this, several weeks ago, I also had the opportunity to review the county's initiation of policy that's required with this. And the county, obviously way different than the village. The county is extremely large and their policy creation related to this was, it was, I want to say it was like maybe 40 pages. I'm not sure. It was very, very deep. Certainly not what would be needed by the village. I also contacted some other local jurisdictions, including Hickory, and got what they were using, which was very much and very in line with what Cherie had prepared. I think Cherie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that came from some templates that were provided by NCDOT that would be sufficient or satisfactory for their purposes to meet what was being required. So I went through those. I made some changes to what Cherie did. Some of them are just ministerial changes. Cherie and I have a little fun with one another sometimes, with trying to, I oftentimes will call the village a town or vice versa. So we have to make sure we get that corrected in those documents. And so we've gotten those kinds of things corrected. There were some other small changes that were made related to it. I don't know, Cherie and the mayor have only had that documentation for just several hours, maybe 8 hours or so, maybe 9, I don't know. So they probably haven't had the chance to look at it particularly thoroughly yet, just to determine if they had any questions about the changes that I had made. The two areas that are of the greatest concern that I think you should be aware of is that the initial policy statement indicated after a statement of what the policy is, also then listed a kind of I'm going to call it a set of examples or actions or activities that were going to be prohibited by the village in regards to potential discriminatory practices. And I chose to eliminate all of those, just kind of erase them at all. I felt like the policy statement itself is sufficient for that. And when you start listing specific things that are, quote, prohibited, you create a list of things for people to potentially play off of. And you also create a circumstance that allows for an assertion that, well, if you're saying these things are prohibited, then you're not agreeing that these other things haven't been prohibited and they should have been prohibited. So I think the more general policy statement language satisfies what they would need. Cherie can probably forward to you what she had sent to me and then send you what mine is so you can see the differences. The other thing that I don't think that's such a big deal either. What I am a little bit more concerned about is that The Title VI provisions relate to discriminatory practices, as you've probably often heard many times, as a result of national origin, race, religion, creed, things of that nature. Those are what we in the law profession define as protected classes of individuals that are protected from discriminatory practices by individuals or governments for that matter. But the documentation that DOT provided added that's what I'm going to call added a segment of people that would be protected from these discriminatory practices that I don't feel like are set forth or delineated within Title VI. And they are listed as, and I'll quote it, income level. They cite, income level as a basis for not engaging in discriminatory practices. And that doesn't appear to me to be, again, a protected class within Title VI. I'm concerned that by listing it, you're creating a class of people that you would then be subject to scrutiny over in regard to potential claims that might exist. I will tell you, I don't come to this as if I'm some sort of, scholarly individual. I saw this, it ought to be excluded. What happened was I reviewed the county's policy thoroughly. Then I reviewed Hickory's policy, which one is, behemoth and one is not. And both of those parties from within their legal advice teams took income level out. They have removed them from their policies. I made some contact with one of the attorneys and indicated that the reasoning that I was putting forth of my concern was the same reasoning that they had engaged in and was the subject of why they removed it. Currently, what you've been provided with, or if you haven't been provided with, Sheree can provide it to you with the changes that I made, still list income level as one of those areas of protection. When you talk about a lawyer and getting advice, I don't know whether to advise you to remove it or to not remove it. I don't know if it could harm you at some point or not. I think in all likelihood, the counties and Hickory's policies have been approved by DOT with the removal of that, with that class area from it. Or I think I would have been told that by the one attorney I was dealing with. And I can make edits to remove that particular area from the various, there's either 2 or 3 of these documents that contain those references that it would have to be edited from. I told the mayor that I thought this was probably something that you guys would want to, I think the word I used was marinate over, which is to just think about it and decide kind of where you fell potentially on those areas. And that's the overview of it. If anything's not clear, I'm happy to entertain questions. If I can, I'll attempt to answer them, but that's where I'm at with it. I think you should pass it. You need to pass it. Is it going to matter if it's a month from now? I really don't think so. You do need to implement a policy. I initiated the implementation of the policy being posted within your offices, your department offices, and on the website. I think it should be posted there. Then aside from that, those are the issues with it. Sorry that's so long-winded.
Thank you for your work on that, Ken. And what I would say is that give Sheree and I a chance to look that over in the next few days, and then we can forward that out to all the council members to look at so that we can bring it back to council at the next March meeting. And I guess we would probably like some feedback from council as to whether or not you want to leave those financial things in there regarding discrimination. Sounds to me like perhaps we should take them out based upon what Union County and Hickory are doing. And
yeah, I mean, I have more concerns about leaving them in than I do taking them out currently. I think the worst thing that happens if you take them out is DOT says we're not going to approve this, and then you can put them back in. And if you take them out, then you have satisfied the concerns that I have related to it, I think.
okay. All right. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Swain?
Not here.
Okay, thanks again, Ken. We appreciate
Yes, sir. Yes,
your
sir.
work on that. Okay, moving on to the finance officer's report. Cheryl?
You have the January financial reports. We're doing well. Our shared revenues are coming in very nicely. And the sales and use tax is coming in, I think, above budget, so that's good. I don't have any issues. Are there any questions?
Couple comments. We're only a couple months away from getting into budgets for the next fiscal year. So you need to all be thinking about your areas of responsibility and what you would like your budgets to be for the coming year. And I think we'll probably have a workshop towards the end of April for the budget. So is
If
that
everyone, when they're ready, if they want to send me their budget estimations, I'd be glad to receive them.
we can't do that until about a week before it's due. To put the pressure on you, Cheryl.
Okay. Whatever.
Just kidding. The other thing is that the audit reports have come in, and there's an audit report for each of you in your inbox here in the office. Any questions or comments for Cheryl? Okay, moving on to stormwater. Once again, I'll ask Sheree to give us an update here, or I can do it if you'd like. We have two sinkholes that have shown up in by our storm drains leading into, one of them's leading into the pond up at Alden. The other one is by the playground at Founders Park. JB Pressler has given us quotes to repair both of those. The one on Alden was $1,500. The one on Founders Park is a little trickier because if they can do the work by hand, it will be $1,500. But if they have to start removing the fence and the retaining timbers and some of the mulch, they said it could be up to $3,500. What we're recommending is that council approve up to $5,000 to repair both of these sinkholes, and hopefully it'll come in at $3,000. But we would like to have a motion to spend up to $5,000 on the repair of these two sinkholes.
I'll make
Motion to approve up
spend
to
it.
5,000 to repair the sinkholes. This is Jim.
Jim has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Joe.
Joe has seconded. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by stating your name and A or nay.
And Jack, yay.
Jim Record, yay.
Joe Scaldera, yay.
Jeremy Russell, yay.
Bruce Barton, yay.
Motion is carried. Okay, moving on to public services, streets and sidewalks. This has been going on a long time, but we finally have some resolution to the sidewalk over on Cortlandt Street. The Leland cypress trees have been trimmed back, so that the sidewalk is now accessible. It really wasn't trimmed the way that our arborist had recommended, going back trimming to the trunk. So there's some possibility that some of these branches may grow back, and we'll have to keep an eye on this for the future. The homeowner asked me, and I said I would ask counsel and our attorney, now that she has complied with our request to trim these trees back, would we accept responsibility if any of these trees blew over into the street due to the cutting back of the limbs? I'd like confirmation from council, but my thought on it is that the trees were not pruned by a certified arborist, nor were they pruned in the manner that our arborist had recommended. Therefore, I do not think that the village can assume any responsibility for future damage to those. But again, especially Ken, I would like your thoughts on that.
No.
There you go, long-winded again.
That was an easy one. I will tell you though, on the positive side of things, I was after the mayor sent this out and I saw the pictures. I've been driving through Charlotte a little bit recently. It's very similar. That's a very similar appearance to how they handle these types of trees that are grown in the path of a sidewalk.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. I will pass that on to the homeowner. Moving on to the Crafton Meeting Street sidewalk, Bruce, I'll let you give us an update on that, and what we need to do to finish that up.
Okay, the sidewalk is completed all the way around from Creft all the way to Meeting Street. The landscaper has come in and done finish seeding and grading and straw. We've kept some of the barricades up just because with all the rain we've had, everything's been very soft. So any kids trying to walk through there right now, it's going to destroy what landscaping we've done. What we need to do is appropriate $1,815 from contingency for the landscaping company who did do the work and did an excellent job finishing it off. And I'd like to make a motion that we.
I think it's 815, Bruce, not 1,800.
Oh, my eyeglasses need to be cleaned. Sorry about that.
It's, yeah,
Sorry about that.
we did appropriate some additional money from contingency to sidewalks so that we could complete both sections of that sidewalk. And I think it does look very nice, and I think it will be greatly appreciated by the residents of Lake Park. But we did not anticipate having to do some finishing touches on the landscaping on both sides of the sidewalk. So we do need to appropriate $815 from contingency to sidewalks for this project. So is there a motion to do that?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve $815
Thank you,
from
Bruce.
contingency for the completion of the landscaping around the sidewalks.
Okay, Bruce has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Pam has seconded. Any questions or discussion?
One question, Mayor, is that payable to veterans or there was additional contractor involved? Just
No,
curious.
we actually got two quotes on that. Lucas gave us a quote for just under $1,400 to finish the landscaping. Back to Veterans Concrete, they did come in at our request and smooth out some of the divots and large chunks of dirt that were left behind, but it was not a point where it could be seeded and strawed. So based on that, we got a quote from Lucas, again, a little under $1,400. We felt that was a little excessive, so I got another quote from Greenstone Lawn and Landscaping, and it came in at $815. So,
I got you. No problem.
any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by stating your name and A or nay.
Pam Jack, yay.
Jim Record, yay.
Joe Scaldera, yay.
Jeremy Russell, yeah.
Bruce Barton, yay.
Motion is carried. Okay, moving on to waste collection. Jim?
I don't have much to say here, but I do, it gave Pam some little bit of information regarding our tonnage. So over the last Q3 and Q4 of last year, we have, three different types of waste: solid waste, yard waste, and recyclables. So we're averaging about 106 tons a month for solid waste, Yard waste is running, between the two quarters, 23.8 tons in Q3, 12.6 tons. Again, these are per month in Q4. And recyclable waste is just over 18 tons. I gave her Pam, a little blurb, and we're going to work on some of the language in there about asking people to see if we can increase our recyclable waste and lower our solid waste, and giving them reasons why this is happening and why the solid waste trucks are sometimes picking up the recycle bins, and where they can go on the village's website to get this information where they can print things out. So it's just some additional information I'm trying to give the town, the residents, of what our waste collection services are doing.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Moving on to lighting, Joe.
Well, got a couple lights out that we're going to be working on here real soon. Both the circles on Conifer have a light out. I'll be fixing those next few days, hopefully. We were talking the other day, or last meeting, excuse me, about the lighting for the new information Koski.
Yes.
And I've got some, I guess we call it experimental. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is LED strip. Now, a lot of this project is going to depend on how much of this we need to use. From what I've seen and read about it, looks like we'll be able to take one strip on the top of each one of the 5 areas and to have it illuminated. If that's enough to illuminate it, this will be a very simple and low cost project. If we have to go all the way around, that'll change everything. Not as much by this. This is like 16 foot. And this is, each one of these is $20. That's not really where the big expense comes in. The larger expense, if we have to use it all the way around, will become more because of the higher capacity solar panels that we'll need to charge the 12-volt battery that will be inside of it to keep it going. What I'm planning on doing is, hopefully when the weather gets just a little bit warmer and drier, is putting up a few strips of this on the inside and have a test. I'll email everybody when it's out and just have a test to see what it looks like and see what everybody's thoughts are on it, of whether it's enough lighting or not.
Would the solar panel then be on top of the kiosk?
Exactly.
On just one side, or?
Well, it looks like we can, if it's just the one strip on the top, we'll probably be able to get away with 2 small solar panels on the top. I'd like to come up with something that integrates with the top instead of something, a lot of them that they have are standalone that kind of bolts onto a bracket and would stick up top of it, like we've seen on many of the lights, even like the regular garden ones you see where the panel sticks up. I would like to have something that's more integrated with the design of it. So that's what I'm really hoping for. I'm hoping for one strip to do a good job on it, because we can keep the cost down very low. I mean, within a couple $100, to be honest with you. And I think keep a better look too.
Okay, good.
So I'll be sending some emails out in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, like I said, we get some warmer and drier weather and see what everybody thinks of it.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your work on that, Joe.
Not a problem.
All right, moving on to item number 14, ordinance review. We've added this to the agenda at the request of Jim. And Jim, I'll let you discuss
Okay.
that item.
So Lake Park currently has 14 ordinances, and their ordinances are they're not in any shape of a template at all. They're all written differently. They're written at different times and different fashions. So I spoke with the mayor, and I've spoke with a couple of council members, and asking about, hey, are you interested in establishing a committee to go through, review all of our ordinances, look at them, and talking with Ken, and Ken, this is a question out to you right now. If we don't change the wording but put them into some form of a template, do we still have to have a open meeting on those? Or
Public
if we're
meeting.
just changing and fitting them into a template without changing any wording in there, is it just fine?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, if you're, I think part of the problem that comes up is that you would want them templated in a way of where the language was also consistent somehow in regards to introduction of the ordinance. I don't have them all in front of me. You're right. They're of a vast variety of changes, and I guess the conservative approach would be to do it, but is it going to bite you if you don't? I doubt it. But when you start talking about enforcement, if you want to make sure that your folks in my profession are adept at trying to extract people from enforcement provisions, and that might be a way to try to do it. To suggest that the ordinance hadn't been properly passed at a time when it was modified in some way. So I'd probably want you to do it.
Okay. All right. So when we have an open meeting, could we have an open meeting to go over all the ordinances, or do they have to be one per meeting?
Sure, you could. I mean, you could just do them one right after the other. I think you could do it very efficiently and quickly.
Okay. All right. So that answers.
Yeah, because your notice of the public hearing could just include a list of all the items that are being presented at the hearing.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
So what I was thinking of considering is reviewing all the current ordinances, get them all into some form of a template. Consider adding any ordinances that would be needing, and just to throw something out there, possibly a nuisance ordinance out there. Remove any ordinance that we don't think we need any longer. Just go through all of these and get them all into that templated form. I was thinking it would be a formal committee, made up of 2 or 3 council members plus some additional members from the residents to go through. I was thinking like we'd meet every other, twice a month, say the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month, or at least once a month, just to get through all of them. They would take time to go through. There would be an expense on this from the town about holding these meetings and everything. And then again, with the attorney going through and making sure that stuff is written appropriately. But I don't think the expenses would actually come out, really get involved until next fiscal year. So this being budget, looking at this and coming up on budget, we could, address this, make sure we have the funds to do this for next year. And I was just opening up to the council to talk and see if, yes, do we have a general consensus from all the council members to this is something that the town needs to take on and do. I'm willing to chair this committee if the council would want that. Asking members, whether you're participating on the committee, if we go forward with it, or in the audience, I'd ask everyone to be there. There'd be open public meetings held up at the community center to go forward with this. So my first question is this something that the council feels is necessary?
Open it up for some comments from council.
Well, this is Bruce. I think it would be a good idea with the way the village is growing that we sit down and kind of lay some things in place. So makes it better understanding for all who live within the village.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'm in agreement with you, Jim. I mean, you and I've already spoke about it, but I'm very interested in that.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Pam, Jeremy?
Jim, I just would ask, I think it's a good idea. I think it's needed. I've long thought we needed to get some things in agreement in different areas within the village. You mentioned the 14 ordinances, and I'm just curious, what's your thought about the UDO? Are you talking about the UDO at all in general as small portions, or not the UDO at all? I'm just asking.
No, I'm thinking about the UDO as well. It's one of the 14. And, it has a date out there, November 2020 was the last time that it was updated. But I think that needs to go through as well. Like I said, this is going to take time to do. It's going to be a lot of work. We have, and I'm just going to throw one out there, animal control ordinance. It may or may not need any work done to it other than being put into a template. So it's all uniform. But even that is not going to happen in one sitting. So I'm thinking there, you know, we have a firearm ordinance, a littering ordinance, a loitering ordinance. They're going to take probably a couple, 3-4 months between you start to do this, you revise it, you get it in front of the committee, you're going out and asking and getting it through a set number of revisions before it goes out to the attorney. And then going up in front of council to saying, hey, this is where we're at. And then, you know, go in front of, for its own public hearing.
Yeah,
So for
I think
adoption.
realistically, you're looking at a year or longer of time. But I mean, I'm fine with that. I just
Yeah.
curious. I
It's
support your
going
effort.
to be probably, yeah, it's probably going to be a good year to get there. Yes.
Jim, I would say one thing, the UDO probably should not be included in your study. The UDO is reviewed and updated periodically by the planning board.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the final approval for any changes has to go before council after public hearings. But the other thing about the UDO is anytime there are changes on that, we've always involved our consultant, Benchmark. And so I think that's kind of a separate animal and should be separate from the other process that you're proposing.
Okay.
What other council members think, or Mr. Swain, what you think about that?
Well, I got a few comments. One is I think it's a really good idea. Two is I think it can be cost saving to you to have Mr. Record do it in the manner in which he is suggesting in regards to a committee where they can delineate certain responsibility assignments to the committee that ultimately I wouldn't be performing, which would potentially make it more cost prohibitive. So I think that that's wise. I think that it could become a little bit taxing in regards to cost if there are a lot of substantive changes made to any given ordinance in terms of what's prohibited or what's not, or the language that's utilized in that, because that would take me more time to assess and evaluate. I agree with the mayor. I do believe that you should, regardless of whether or not you include the UDO in the process that you're talking about engaging in, it should be differentiated as kind of its own ordinance related entity. The others are founded or predicated on the general ordinance making authority of the governmental entity, while the development ordinance is far more vast in regards to things that are directly related to development. The UDO does have already a governmental subcommittee or sub-entity in the form of the planning board that assesses the status of the UDO and content. And if you were going to want to make changes to the UDO, my suggestion would be that it not come through this forum, but that forum could be used to then go to the planning board to present what changes the planning board would want to consider for potential submission to the council, versus the general ordinance making authority provisions being having kind of a direct, what I'll call a direct line to the council. And then lastly, and I'll throw this out for you, Mr. Record, you can make your first note related to it. You had a situation recently where there was a motor vehicle that was parked on one of the side streets that was damaged or in a wreck condition, and there wasn't really an ordinance provision covering that particular type of circumstance that could be utilized to have that vehicle removed or towed by the village. And that's probably, when I saw ordinance review, I wasn't expecting what you said. I was actually kind of expecting this issue to come up for some inclusion in the parking ordinance or the personal property ordinance. So I think it is something that's a specified area of addition that you probably should consider. That's
okay. No, that's all right. But I want to ask this question for that one vehicle that we were talking about, that you're talking about, was on Faith Church Road.
It was.
Yeah, so that being on Faith Church Road, and Faith Church Road is not a town road or a village road, would this ordinance
It's
fall
still
on
within-
that road?
Wasn't it still within the city limits though, within the village limits?
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
within the village limits,
Yeah,
yes.
so there's a particular North Carolina statutory provision related to what's referred to or defined as abandoned or junk vehicles. And one of those indicates that a vehicle that's been parked within the jurisdiction of a particular entity, if it's in a state of damage or wreck nature, I'm simplifying it, can be removed. But there needs to be ordinance authority in place for that. So I think there would have been a way to address it potentially. I do.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, thank you for that one. Yeah, the other
We can
point on
talk
that,
about that. Yeah, at the time that one comes up too, I can forward you the statutory provisions I'm referring to.
okay, yeah, the other thing would be on adding on for, parking or personal property, whatever is pods. You have all these people coming in and moving. A pod shouldn't be parked on a street.
Right.
It should be in the driveway. And I know we got some townhomes that really don't have much of a driveway and didn't know if they could even put a pod inside that driveway, the way things are set up on the townhome. So that's something we got to take into consideration as well for saying when we're talking about
I think
pods.
there are probably a number of things. I think there are probably a number of things that you'll ultimately come up with, and I'm glad to see the village, kind of advancing itself towards trying to provide uniformity to how the ordinances are and the template within which they appear for those that are reviewing it. I've been with you guys a long, long time, and so that means you were stuck with me when I was younger, and at that time I wasn't really thinking about, do these ordinances have uniformity of appearance that make them nice and neat and clean. I was more concerned with trying to make sure tried to do my best to get the language right. I didn't, some of these I didn't prepare, but others that I did, and it just wasn't something that I crossed my mind. I'm glad you're looking at it.
So with that said, Attorney Swain, would the committee need to come up with some form of a template? Does the town need to accept a template for the ordinance to fit into? How would that work?
Yeah, I don't know that I think that necessarily. I think that you could reach some sort of consensus about it. I'd have to go back and look, Mr. Record. I think there's either one or two of the most recent ordinance provision passages that have occurred where I've kind of tried to start that type of appearance. And it might be that it could feed into that potentially in terms of how it looks. I would also, refer you to, you should look at any of the other surrounding governmental entities and how they present theirs and in what form and what fashion to determine if there's one of those that you have a preference for or like. I don't know. I mean, are you going to get a council person to say to you, we don't like the way this is templated for, I don't know. I guess that could happen. But I think if you guys are putting in the work, they're probably going to defer to you in that regard.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah,
you-
that's
where
something
you-
that we can do. I didn't know if the town needed to accept a format or not.
No, I don't think so. I think where you'll run into more of a dialogue between you and your council members or your committee and your council members is if you are suggesting, substantive ordinance changing or changes and what those, quote unquote laws would be, because that does promote sometimes, discussion where parties are on opposite sides of a potential issue or present particular concerns that make those types of changes more challenging to get passed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. So I guess my question here next is, and this is between you, Attorney Swain, and Mayor, do I need to put a motion in front of the council to create a committee to do this, or how does that get sanctioned?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I think you need, yeah, I mean, I think you need to have I think that there should be some formal motion and discussion about the creation of the committee. And then there needs to be some specificity regarding what the delineated purposes of the committee are to be.
Okay.
Is that something
So
you're prepared
committee-
to? Are
Well, I
you
wanna
prepared
say-
to do that this evening, Jim, or do you want to put that together for the next meeting?
Well, I want to say, so should we put together some form of, lack of a better term, I'll say a committee charter? And present that to say, this is what we're going to do, and do that for the next meeting to put
Yeah.
that forth?
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Yeah.
All right, so I know Joe said he was interested in being on the council. Should we be 2 or 3 council members and 2 or 3 residents?
Two
Looking at
council members, please.
I'm sorry?
Well, I guess, I mean, well, if you're gonna, are you planning on advertising the meetings as open meetings? I
Yes,
guess you
there'll
are,
be
right?
open meetings.
Okay, all right, then I'm sorry, I'm gonna shut my mouth. However many you want to do.
Okay. Yeah, that was it. They're gonna be regular open meetings. We'll have to take minutes and, present. I'm assuming you'll have to present this monthly up to the council of where we're standing.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, it's, however, whatever you think the degree of regularity of providing information to the council is, within your purview, I think.
Okay. So I'm still, this is a question that I'm opening up to the council members right now, is to say, myself being chair, looking at, that being one of the councils, or should we have 2 or 3 council members? I'm looking at 5 is what I was thinking would be good at number. If we have 3 council members, then it'd be 2 residents, or 2 council members and 3 residents. I'm opening that up to what the council thinks is best to go through this.
I like the idea of adding the residents to it.
Okay,
I think adding two would be nice. I think 3 council member and 2 residents would be a good number to have on that.
Just how do you go about picking out, townspeople to be on this council?
Names in a hat. We'll just pick them.
well, I'll have to see who's interested in doing it. This is probably going to be, as we said earlier, probably upward toward a year project.
Right.
And it's a commitment that, I don't know how many residents would commit to doing a project like this. So I don't think we're going to have a lot, but everyone's welcome to come to a meeting and listen to where things going on and opine on stuff. So,
I mean, I wouldn't mind joining as a council member on this committee.
okay.
My concern is making sure that you have some kind of a system where the person that you just don't take Joe and Jill off the street and put them on this committee. I think this committee is very important, and you have to have some kind of a application form or something where you know that you're getting somebody that has had some kind of experience in this field, because I think if you don't, you get into a lot of wasted time and a lot of work for futility.
So, Mr. Jack, I agree with you. And I think that Mr. Record, next month, when you come related to this, I think you might want to have a suggestion of how many committee members you intend to have. And that there should also be a opportunity for people that are of interest to give you notice of their interest. And then what the committee comes back and makes recommendations to the council about what individuals to appoint to the committee. I think that that's the way you ought to go about doing it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you might be surprised. You might be surprised. You might get a dozen people.
Right. Okay. So we'll come up with some form of an application of grabbing some information of who do we believe is best from from the residents for them to fill out if they're interested. And then for us, from the council committee to pick from. Okay. All right. So this will go forward. So I'll come up and Attorney Swain, I'll be talking with you about writing up some form of a charter to make sure that that is, the wording inside there is correct. And
Sure.
you'll also see, I'll come up with some questions to ask for residents to see who's, for them to fill out for joining the committee. It'll be made up of 3 council members and 2 residents for a committee of 5.
Sounds good.
Mr. Swain, do we need a motion this evening for that or?
I don't think so. I think the intention was to kind of, let's get in order things like the size of the committee and what the purposes are going to be. And Mr. Recker's going to provide me with, I guess, a kind of a summation of what those purposes would be so that you're more lined up to move to create the committee at the next meeting.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
okay. Anything else, Jim?
No, that's everything. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, moving on to number 15, communication information. Pam?
We're going to continue the stormwater. I have some more stormwater things that's going in the villager. I have what Jim's got. Angie sent me a few things. I'll put in something about the Toys for Tots and the Angel Tree. Just what improvements we've made. The general things. Does anybody have anything else? I will put in something. I'll get information about the hygiene kits for the homeless shelter. And hopefully, I don't know if I can get this out by the blood drive or not, but we'll see. Anything else that you guys have that
I think
needs doing?
you could put in there about council approved the providing better drainage for the sidewalks.
I got that, yeah.
you got that.
Yeah, I've got the stormwater and the PNR stuff.
Okay. All right.
If you have space, Pam,
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of emails and comments about streetlights lately.
Oh, okay, I'll put the light street.
Times,
That
but
goes in all the time. Okay. All righty. Got it. Anything else? Well, if you think of anything, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. Moving on to council comments. We'll start with Bruce.
Nothing here. Everything's good, and just everybody stay well, and let's hope the warmer weather is going to bring a better curve to what's been going on for over a year now.
Okay. Jeremy?
Mayor, just a couple quick things. Jim, certainly sorry as last month. Sorry about your dad, man. That's certainly terrible situation. My prayers go out to you and all your family. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for the diplomatic closure to the sidewalk over on Cortland. I think you probably were instrumental in getting that thing resolved in the manner that it was versus the manner it could have been headed into. And I appreciate that. And then lastly, I've had several residents recently who have had calls for service for one reason or another from the deputies. And I've had a lot of I'm about to say complaints, a lot of compliments on Deputy Kazai and Austin. So I just like to recognize those guys and the great job they're doing for our village. Hope you all stay safe.
Joe?
I think Jeremy just looked at my notes here. Jeremy, Jim, again, sorry for your losses this last few weeks. It's been terrible. We all feel for you. And Mayor, like Jeremy said, thank you for getting that diplomatic solution. Obviously, if anybody remembers my original comments, it was yours was more diplomatic than mine. I was ready to cut them down. So I think you did good on that. And also the, I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but the day you went or day after you went and talked to the people about the wrecked car on Faith Church, it disappeared. So,
I think that was coincidence.
Well, give you credit for it anyway. So good job on all that. I appreciate you doing that.
Yep, sure thing. Jim?
I just want to thank everyone for the condolences. I appreciate it very much. And Jeremy, just hearing it tonight, and sorry for whatever going on in your family. I don't know what it is, but I'm sorry. These are trying times, things we're going through, and just want to thank everybody. And again, I'm just echoing David, the work that you've done. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Pam?
I have a couple things. Condolences, Jim, to you and Jeremy. And we also lost a Lake Park resident. What was her name? David.
Ms. Crockett.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, you know, it's not time to let up. It's time that we remain safe and do the mask thing and watching in the hands and the distances. But the other thing I want to, this is coming from something that I have been thinking about since probably last year sometime. We just put the sidewalk in on that area across by Miss Dee Dee's. And I just want you to think about this for budget time. I wonder if we could purchase those 2 pieces of land that whoever owns the town center, I think they're the ones who own it. If we could maybe purchase that maybe next year out of, I don't know, funds, we have quite a bit of funds in our reserve that we might could tap into that if it's not too much. Or we could find other ways to budget and purchase that land so that at some point in the future that we might build either a town center or a new community center or a playground under 2 or a picnic area with that's under a shelter type thing, that we could have some land that we could do something of substance for Lake Park. Right now, we don't have the land, but I just wanted to throw that out tonight in council comments for you to think about as we start thinking about the budget process for next year. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. I would just like to also share condolences to Jim and the loss of your dad, and Jeremy and the loss of your brother-in-law, and hope that everybody stays safe out there. Mr. Swain?
No, sir.
Okay. Cherie?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, my bad. I usually put that on the last slide. I missed it. And Cheryl?
Happy Valentine's.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes,
Mayor, can I make a comment now?
yes.
Everything was so serious. I didn't want people to feel like I was stepping on their toes. I think it's important to note that as a Wake Forest graduate, it's very happy times for me in the sense that Duke, Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky are all not ranked in the top 25 in college basketball. Everyone should know.
We will strike your comment. But thank you for your levity.
Sorry.
All right. Anything else that anybody wants to bring up before we adjourn? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Jim?
Jim has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Bruce.
Bruce has seconded. All those in favor signify by stating your name and your nay.
Pam Jack, yay.
Jim Record, yay.
Joe Scaldera, yay.
Jeremy Russell, yeah.
Bruce Barton, yeah.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Aye.
Night all.
Good night.